Welcome. Read A Course in Miracles along with us in our home-style text class. For information about our live workbook classes, email us and check out our website for more course support, including retreats at the Little Garden in Sedona. Okay, so today we're using this version of A Course in Miracles, and we're in chapter 14. The section is called Sharing Perception with the Holy Spirit. It's not section 7. And I'd like to welcome Julie. Julie teaches with the Circle of Atonement, and she's staying with us for a couple of months, and we're just tickled to have her. So, hello, everyone. Okay, so
I'm so excited about Julie being here because we both, all three of us, and many more, studied with Robert together.
Robert Perry with the Circle of Atonement.
Like we were talking about this morning, his emphasis on interpersonal relationships, and there's really wonderful ideas that we have adopted, saved us time.
Saved us a lot of time to have a good teacher.
Yeah.
So you know something? All of us on this call are a good teacher for people who watch it on YouTube. So thank you. Thank you for your faithfulness in being here. All right, so let's go. Dale, would you read paragraph 1, please?
Okay. Sharing perception with the Holy Spirit. What do you want? Light or darkness, knowledge or ignorance are yours, but not both. Opposites must be brought together, not kept apart. For their separation is only in your mind, and they are reconciled by union as you are. That sentence is very meaningful to me about separation and perceptions. It's something that I get more clarity on every week, actually, when I'm out and about and living, about how I'm perceiving things. And it's really simple to change my perception. But I've made it so hard over my lifetime, but it's really a simple thing to do. So that's very meaningful to me.
Great.
In union, everything that is not real must disappear, for truth is union. As darkness disappears in light, so ignorance fades away when knowledge dawns. Perception is the medium by which ignorance is brought to knowledge. Yet the perception must be without deceit, for otherwise it becomes the messenger of ignorance rather than a helper in the search for truth. Sentence 8, yet the perception must be without deceit. I'm going to need some help with what that means. I don't understand that.
You know something, it's going to be revealed as we go on.
Okay.
This first paragraph just about summarizes the whole section. Wouldn't you say, hon?
I do, but I think part of the deceit that he's going to emphasize through here is that we're not understanding who we are.
Yeah, and we're hiding the truth.
Yeah.
The truth of who we are, the truth of what everything is. Yeah. So if we start with a premise that everything is separate, then our perception is going to be deceitful. We're going to see separation everywhere.
And he brings up dissociation in this section, whereby we believe two opposite things at once, and they can't both be true. So that's the good news.
Okay.
Anyone else want to comment on that one? Okay, then. Julie, you're next. Paragraph 2, please.
The search for truth is but the honest searching out of everything that interferes with truth. Truth is. It can neither be lost, nor sought, nor found. It is there, wherever you are, being within you. Yet it can be recognized or unrecognized, real or false to you. If you hide it, it becomes unreal to you because you hid it and surrounded it with fear. Under each cornerstone of fear on which you have erected your insane system of belief, the truth lies hidden. Yet you cannot know this, for by hiding truth in fear, you see no reason to believe that the more you look at fear, the less you see it, and the clearer what it conceals becomes. That's a lot in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot to unpack, but you can do it.
Yeah. What do I want to say about this? I have to slow it down. I find when I'm reading, like I have to, like I read a sentence and I take a lot longer than the pause I did take to bring it in. So
That's great.
Yeah. I think it's so straightforward. Can truth, the search for truth is but the honest searching out of everything that interferes with truth. Anything that's false. Truth is, it can neither be lost nor sought nor found. It just is. It's in my mind. It's not anywhere else.
Right.
It is there wherever I am, being within me. I think that's all I want to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Did anything else strike you? You want to go?
I just want to say, and I think sentence 6 is really important. I think the word because in there is logical. It works logically.
So read the sentence.
Okay. Could you read it?
If
for
you
me?
hide it, it becomes unreal to you. So that's truth. If you hide truth, it becomes unreal to you because you hid it and surrounded truth with fear.
So the forms of fear, the ego makes up,
Mhm.
right? About loss or loss of love, those in themselves are not fearful. And that's what the ego wants us to see.
Mm.
And what that sentence is saying, the only thing fearful is you hiding
Mhm.
this from the Holy Spirit,
Right.
and not sharing it with them.
Right.
Because his point here is if we bring opposites together, then we're healed.
Right.
And then
That strikes me reading that if you hide it, that there's a conscious effort on our part to hide it.
Right.
And I've never really thought of it that way. I think it's more of, with me at least, an unconscious effort prior to not knowing what to look for.
Yeah.
Well, Kathy, go ahead.
Last week we were reading, it was saying that it is only what's hidden that terrifies.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's not the fear itself, it's just what's hidden. And I think this is explaining it further a little bit.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to chapter 21 next September or something, but what it's saying there is that we chose it first. So then we forgot it. So we did choose to believe things like the facts are true. The physical world is real.
What they did to hurt me is real.
What they did to hurt me really hurt me. I am hurt. I'm damaged. All that kind of stuff. And so then we hide.
See, I think that's the beauty of it, because it's got this big metaphysics, like you're making it up, there's no world. But I can see what I'm doing with my emotions, with my feelings. I can see what he shows us we're just projecting it.
Right. This section paragraph reminds me a lot of Fear of Redemption. It was that word, the cornerstone. I don't know if you remember. It was the one where it talks about the layers of the mind, and underneath the darkest cornerstone is our love of God and God's love for us.
Yeah.
But we're hiding that. We're hiding it on top of our guilt, which we're hiding our guilt and blaming everybody else or blaming the facts.
Can I say it? that is so key, because psychology is saying, or the way we think about the mind is we're hiding this darkness about ourselves. And what the Course is saying, what we're really hiding is the loving nature of ourselves and
Right.
others of God. That's what we're really hiding.
Right.
And it's like we're hanging on to the guilt, we're hanging on to the vengeance and blaming and all that,
Right.
you know, and yeah, and that's what we're training ourselves not to do.
Okay, let's look at that paragraph again and see if there's anything in it that you want to talk about.
The last line. By hiding truth in fear, you see no reason to believe that the more you look at fear, the less you see it. Which is perfectly logical, isn't it? If it's like, if I'm seeing fear in something, why would I want to keep looking at it? So from a human perspective, that makes perfect sense that you just stop looking because you just want to stop feeling the fear. Well, this is saying you've got to keep looking at it and look past it to something that's completely different to it. So, well, hang on.
There you go.
So it's no wonder we find it difficult, is it really? Because
Yeah.
it's completely against all common human natural things that we would do.
Yes.
Our experiences.
You know, if you really think about it, the simplest forms of life are about avoiding pain and going for pleasure. Amoebas, right? I mean, everything. So that's like fear and whatever is like, we're running away from this. We're like, our biological systems are telling us run away from fear.
Fight or flight.
And, yeah. And this is saying, look straight at it and you'll see that that does not control you.
So instead of going along with the normal evolution of things they've just described, we're trying to evolve in a different way, which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay, so Kathy is next. Kathy, would you read 3, please?
Sure. It is not possible to convince the unknowing that they know. From their point of view, it is not true. Yet it is true because God knows it. These are clearly opposite viewpoints on what the unknowing are. To God, unknowing is impossible. It is therefore not a point of view at all, but merely a belief in something that does not exist. It is only this belief that the unknowing have, and by it, they are wrong about themselves. They have defined themselves as they are not created. Their creation was not a point of view, but rather a certainty. Uncertainty brought to certainty does not retain any conviction of reality. It's like a light. It's either light or darkness. It's just, you choose. Every moment you're choosing.
Yeah. I'm noticing the word belief.
Yeah.
Getting, we could change our beliefs.
And belief in something that doesn't exist. I mean, how insane is that? And we'll go to the grave defending that a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think he means literally that fear has been healed already.
Yeah.
That
it doesn't even exist. If we really look at it, it disappears.
See, it's interesting. He begins with saying God cannot have knowledge, right? And his knowledge is love and extension.
God cannot not have knowledge.
Right. And so he's trying to clarify what's really there.
Right.
And what's really there is God's healing love.
Yeah. And
fear has been healed. But, you know, that's where the deception comes in. We deceive ourselves. We want the world. We want to blame somebody for what's going on often. You know, like that's one example.
What about that sentence 9? I'm just addressing this to everybody. Their creation, the unknowing, people who have defined themselves as they were not created. Their creation was not a point of view, but rather a certainty. Does that have any resonance for you? Is there anything you'd like to share about that? If someone,
Well,
go ahead, Kathy.
well, it's how we're created is a certainty, and we can believe whatever we want, but it's not going to change the certainty of it at all.
Right. That's it.
There we go. We are as God created us. Next section is going to come back to that whole power and glory thing. You remember how much power and glory we were seeing in some chapters past? That's how we were created.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's curious to me, the first sentence. It is not possible to convince the unknowing that they know. I'm just sitting here thinking why that was discussed, why he put it in there. I mean, my idea is in talking to people, are we wasting our time trying to convince people? Do we just be quiet and let God do the work?
I think it's self-referential. That's how I'm trying to understand it.
You mean it's about you? It's about me?
Mhm. I think he's just saying to us that you do have this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You are, yourself is unchanged, all of that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right.
And yeah. And that's it's just our resistance to acting from our true self, to act from our loving self.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what it's saying farther down is that if somebody has a belief in something, you can't attack the belief. If they're open to it, you can, I mean, that's who the students are, those who are open to changing their beliefs. Yeah.
And we demonstrate that we've done that.
That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Demonstrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be very difficult to correct a belief.
Yeah. Get dug in.
What really works is seeing somebody who is living from a different belief system.
Yeah.
That really, I can remember, I just told this story and I don't think it was to this group, how years and years ago, I knew somebody that I saw after a break of maybe 5 years, 10 years, I saw him again. And it was like, holy smokes, what happened to you? And he said, I had a good therapist, right? But what I saw was a guy who is so defensive, is so irritated by everything you said. If you said, wow, Dennis, I really like your shirt, he'd say, what's wrong with the shirt I wore yesterday? And then the next time I saw him, he was like gentle and connecting, and what? That made an impact on me.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, wow, I can change too. That was like really an important moment. So I think that that's how we change people.
The Course follows this sort of way of learning by we make a model.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what he said. And Jesus is that model.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit's the guide. And
Yeah.
we got to choose it. But we're making models in our minds. And that's what we have to see, is that this form is something the ego is throwing up as a model of disaster, of loss. And we don't have to believe in that model.
Right.
The Holy Spirit will, he can show us our loving self.
Let's see now. It's Eric's turn.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that sentence 9, actually.
Good.
Creation was not a point of view. Because it reminded me of lesson 350, I think it is, recently I was reading, which says, what he is unaffected by his thoughts, but what he looks upon is the direct result.
Yeah.
So because we're looking on things that are coming from our thoughts, we're believing they're real, but really that's got nothing to do with what we are.
Yeah.
And even though I can say that and I can believe it, I still can't quite connect it and make it real in my mind, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because it's so convincing that what I'm seeing is real and I'm part of it. And
he's a good playwright.
We're all good playwrights.
Yeah. Paragraph 4.
Yes, please.
Our emphasis has been on bringing what is undesirable to the desirable. What you do not want to do, I'll say that again. What you do not want to what you do. You will realize that salvation must come to you this way if you consider what dissociation is. Dissociation is a distorted process of thinking whereby two systems of belief which cannot coexist are both maintained. If they are brought together, their joint acceptance becomes impossible. But if one is kept in darkness from the other, their separation seems to keep them both alive and equal in their reality. Their joining thus becomes the source of fear. For if they meet, acceptance must be withdrawn from one of them. You cannot have them both, for each denies the other. Apart, this fact is lost from sight, for each in a separate place can be endowed with firm belief. Bring them together, and the fact of their complete incompatibility is instantly apparent. One will go because the other is seen in the same place. Yeah. I mean, that's a brilliant definition of dissociation. I didn't even really understand what it meant, actually, dissociation. But it's saying here that two belief systems can exist at the same time.
Right.
Because you can manage to shield one of them from your view. You can, what's the word? Obscure it.
Right.
And keep the other one in place.
Right.
So it's really what it's saying in the first paragraph, I think, isn't it? About really seeing both things. And if you can do that, then one of them's got to go.
Right.
And he's being very specific here about the deception.
Yeah.
I mean, how we're deceiving ourselves. Look at sentence 6. It's saying explicitly what the real source of fear is.
We're going to have to give something up.
Yeah, and then it's not about the forms. It's not about we're imagining. It's this somewhere inside of us. You can't see, that's insane. So you can't really explain it. Is this resistance to bringing them together?
Right. Because if we do, acceptance must be withdrawn from one of them.
That's it.
You know, the picture that came
And
to my
remember,
mind.
that's what he said at the beginning of this chapter. We are valuing both guilt and guiltlessness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I have to be guilty to change my behavior.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So as we were reading this, a scene from a movie came up, and I don't remember the movie, but it was in the South, and a black man, he had become some kind of a local hero, a football player or something.
Whatever,
I don't know. And he's sitting on the front porch with the white guy, and the guy is saying, you know, we're so proud of you, blah, 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 blah. But then he doesn't let him come in the house. Oh, black people can't come in the house.
That was a famous football player. One Night in Memphis. It was a recent movie
Oh,
where
yeah.
it had
Right.
Martin Luther King and all these other. Anyways, it was a fictional narrative. But look at that dichotomy.
So look at that. It's like we're Christian and all men are brothers, but you know, not you. And we just hold them as, or some people do, you know, that's just one example.
Yeah, it's about exclusion.
We do it politically. It's like, I'm a course student, but you know, those people I hate, you know, that's dissociation.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't have them both. So why are we afraid to bring them together? Because we're going to have to let go of one of those thought systems. Holy Spirit's saying, I'll do it very gently with you.
Yeah, he gives us super good news in the next paragraph.
Oh, is that right?
Instantly it will heal.
Okay.
He's inkling, by the way, the next chapter of the Holy Instant, the two uses of time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just one other thing. It was reading that, the language was a little difficult for me, at least. But what I was thinking, Jan and Timothy, what you both said many times, it's really very simple. Just either you're at peace or you're not. You know, if you're not at peace, then you're discerning the wrong belief system. So just do the work and correct it.
Yeah.
That's the turnaround.
And real peace not the kind of peace that comes from compartmentalizing our thoughts and like holding on to them. You know, it's like, that's not peace.
Contentment.
Yeah, I like that idea. Contentment. Okay. Anything else about that paragraph? I think that's pretty clear. He says over and over the same kind of thing. Bring those two thoughts together, and one of them has got to go. Since we identify with both of them, we're afraid to lose our identity. So
here's this dichotomy here of compatible, incompatible, and then the instant.
Sentence 9.
Yeah, then you realize instantly they can't go together.
Right.
Like that's kind of the holy instant. In this moment, nope.
Yeah.
I'm coming from my ego. I'm coming from that. I don't want to come from fear. I don't want to come from shame. I don't want to come from anger.
Holy Spirit, help me. Right. Okay. Connie, would you read 5, please? Oh, Connie, would you read, stop before you get to paragraph 11. This is too big a paragraph.
Light cannot enter darkness when a mind believes in darkness and will not let it go. Truth does not struggle against ignorance, and love does not attack fear. What needs no protection does not defend itself. Defense is of your making. God knows it not. The Holy Spirit uses defenses on behalf of truth only because you made them against it. His perception of them according to his purpose merely changes them into a call for what you have attacked with them. Defenses, like everything you made, must be gently turned to your own good, translated by the Holy Spirit from means of self-destruction to means of preservation and release. His task is mighty, but the power of God is with him. Therefore, to him, it is so easy that it was accomplished the instant it was given him for you. So it's easy for the Holy Spirit, and it's challenging for us to give up defenses. So that's why we just give it up to the Holy Spirit. But yeah, the last paragraph and this paragraph, I have a hard time staying with it, because in the reading I keep going to psych, and the thing that I'm thinking that I'm realizing now is, when someone is really disassociating, it is really difficult. I mean, they just cannot see what is really true, and it's really scary being there, even for the person listening, because it's so like out of this world. So I really see how the not being with God and not being in that place is, you have to disassociate to not, I mean, it's the truth, it's real. And yet in our everyday life, we're disassociating all the time,
So Connie, let's build on what you're saying there and what the Course just is saying in that paragraph about our defenses. And it doesn't mention a target, but it says a defense denies something. And what the Holy Spirit doing is calling for that. So if you put fear in there, which has been his most recent translation, fear is a denial of love. And if you give that denial to the Holy Spirit, it's a call for love, which you experience, and that's in the moment. So if somebody's I think the case you're referring to is people who are mentally ill.
Which is most of us all the time.
Right, but yeah.
I mean, all of us most of the time.
Well, for one thing, the Course's description of mental illness is much deeper than the average mental.
Yeah,
Just
it's a matter of degree. I mean, we're disassociating from reality
Right.
of what's true, and mental illness is a
right. So he's referring to us, or referring to a mind that has the possibility of healing.
Right.
Whereas
Sure.
like
We all
schizophrenia,
do.
I mean, that's a whole different situation, I think. I mean, you used to work with that, right?
yeah, or even someone who's, I mean, they don't have to be that mentally ill, but people can, have a personality where sometimes, and I've experienced this recently, where everything someone is saying is so like not based in reality.
Distorted.
Yeah, and so and it's really, you can't make or say anything that's going to bring the person back, and that's the same situation we're in. We just need Holy Spirit,
Right.
because we cannot do it.
Yeah, we believe in separation as well as in union.
Right.
And here's the criteria here. The Holy Spirit's remedy is instant.
Yeah.
And
Right.
fear is always something in the future. But that's a great promise there. Instantly, you can feel that. You can be content in
Right.
peace.
Thank God.
Well, there's such relief and comfort in knowing that the Holy Spirit is there to take it over, and it's so it's easier to give it up, knowing the Holy Spirit will deal with it however he sees best.
Yeah.
So we have a fear of bringing the darkness to the light. We have a fear of asking Holy Spirit to shine the light on our darkness, because we're afraid we're going to have to give something up, something about myself.
Right. So unless you're really mentally ill thing, you have to say to the form the ego is putting up, that can't be true, because it's not loving. And then instantly turn to the Holy Spirit.
Okay. So Connie, you want to continue with that paragraph?
Sure. Do not delay in your return to peace by wondering how he can fulfill what God has given him to do. Don't think about it. Never works. Just give it up. Leave that to him who knows. You are not asked to do mighty tasks yourself. You are merely asked to do the little he suggests you do, trusting him only to the small extent of believing that if he asks it, you can do it. You will see how easily all that he asks can be accomplished. All you need is your willingness to listen.
That's right. Yeah. Anyone else? You want to comment on this paragraph?
The word translated in sentence 8, everything you made must be, defenses like everything you made must be gently turned to your own good, translated by the Holy Spirit from means of self-destruction to means of preservation. Yeah, just that word, because it seems to be saying here that, right, you've created a defense, and what you can't do is pull down your own defense, because it's like the mind working against the mind, isn't it? You're trying to get rid of something that you've created yourself. It's impossible. So however hard we try to get rid of that thing that's the problem, and then take it to God and say, look, I'm better now. It's never going to work. You've got to appreciate what it's saying here to me is that your defenses are there, and you can't do anything about them apart from bring them to the Holy Spirit and ask him to translate them into something that isn't a defense anymore.
Yeah.
The short phrase we were using, it's not being done to me, it's being done by me. It's my imagination, the beliefs I'm making up.
Oh yeah, the pain.
Yeah,
any pain that we
whatever the
experience.
lack of peace is. It's
Yeah.
not, that circumstance isn't causing, it's my beliefs.
Do you notice how many times beliefs are mentioned in here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on that one? Okay, then Dale, would you read 6? Notice how many action words there are in here. How many things he's asking us to do in the paragraph you're about to read.
Injunctions is what we call it.
Yep.
Do this.
6.
The Holy Spirit ask of you but this, bring to him every secret you have locked away from him. Well, that's pretty straightforward. Open every door to him and bid him enter the darkness and lighten it away. At your request, he enters gladly. So we have to ask.
Yeah.
That's always been a problem for me. It's, again, giving up. I didn't want to give up control because I felt like I was vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a transition, at least for me, and trusting and giving up and knowing that I may be vulnerable, but in a different way.
Yeah, right on. Openness.
He brings the light to darkness if you make the darkness open to him. But what you hide, he cannot look upon. He sees for you, and unless you look with him, he cannot see. He sees for you, and unless you look with him, he cannot see. He cannot see. Okay, this is, I thought Holy Spirit saw everything. Maybe we didn't, but Holy Spirit did.
That's
Well,
an issue, isn't it?
Well, you can't,
But-
he can't see what's not real. He knows that we're in distress,
Yeah,
but it's like a dream. It's not real.
well, isn't the point that if we hide it and not bring it to him,
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit can't look upon such that we get healed. I mean, we have to not hide it. Because I think you're right. There's a sense in which the Holy Spirit's, like he said, the laws of love are not suspended because you fall asleep. Like love's always working. Right? Isn't that the issue?
What do you think about that sentence, Julie? But what you hide, he cannot look upon.
I think what Timothy is saying, I follow with that, is that the Holy Spirit is a communicator. He sees everything in the dream. He knows it's not real.
Right.
But we have free will, and as long as we believe it's real, he can't take it from us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like we have to have a willingness. We have to step back, I think, and have a willingness to say, take this. I give this to you, like the secret, like I give it to you. We have to do our part.
Right.
Like it's a collaborative relationship between us and the Holy Spirit. He will not, because of our free will, come in and take something from us.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question. Sentence 4, he brings the light to darkness. And there's been so much written about you have to bring the darkness to the light. So I guess the Holy Spirit can work both ways.
Yeah.
But we can't, right?
We have to bring the darkness to the light, but he is only light. So when we allow it, he's bringing the light to the darkness.
Okay, thank you.
It's like the steady state. Hit the lights.
That's all he's doing.
Hit the lights.
Lights on.
Lights on.
Okay, sentence 7. The vision of the Christ is not for him alone, but for him with you. Bring therefore all your dark and secret thoughts to him and look upon them with him. He holds the light and you are the darkness.
You hold the darkness.
And you, you the darkness. They cannot exist when both of you together look on them. His judgment must prevail, and he will give it to you as you join your perception to his. Oh, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't really have any comment. That's pretty straightforward.
I really like sentence 11. His judgment must prevail. When we bring our pain, let's put it that way. The darkness is our pain. That which we're holding on to, our false self-concept,
Our suffering.
our suffering, our sense of vulnerability, all of that, our sense of victimhood. His judgment must prevail, and he will give it to us as soon as we join our perception to his. In other words, I must not be right. If this hurts, if it causes me to feel a contraction, if it separates me from my brothers, it can't be right.
Right, so that at that point, I'm sorry, go ahead, sorry.
I lost it. Go ahead.
So at that point, we don't dissociate away from the fear, we bring it up.
Yeah. Bring up the fear.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
So that's where dissociation happens.
And then that false belief, a lot of this really, our false beliefs and our pain, so much of it is based on a whole thought system that says the world can hurt me. I am small. The world can hurt me. Other people are out to get me in some way. That's like, bring that to the Holy Spirit. That's the darkness. When we bring it to the Holy Spirit, he can show us something different.
That whole idea that the Holy Spirit is solely working with our concepts. So that's where we get confused. So it uses, us being aware of what's going on is used sometimes the word to be vulnerable to that. But that means not hurt by it, but just open to it. But the Course is saying how we heal others of their guilt is our invulnerability. I'm unaffected by the world outside of me.
Exactly.
And when I demonstrate that heals what's around me. So it's like, that's why I have to give my thoughts to the Holy. I'm confused. I believe in a contradiction.
Right.
And that's insane.
Right. Well, most of the world that we live in is believing they're believing in the darkness. They're believing that the darkness is real. And so we really have to work with prayer and Holy Spirit in order to free ourselves. Okay, let's see. It's Julie's turn. 7, please.
I just wanted to make a comment on that whole idea of bringing our darkness to the Holy Spirit, bringing my darkness to the Holy Spirit, is all I have to have is a little bit of willingness.
Yeah.
I don't have to be 100%. Yes, I'm giving it to you. Here it is. It's just been like, I could be crawling my way to, I really believe this about me. And I want to see it differently. And I could be 49.999999 right there. And the Holy Spirit's got it.
Yeah.
But I have to have that little bit of willingness. Yeah. And as you were reading that, I was thinking, I want to watch my own mind. How often do I think I'm bringing it to the Holy Spirit, but I'm really not, because I'm a Course student and I know the lingo.
Yeah.
And am I really being honest? How willing am I to heal this? How am I? What is this darkness? And so it was really. I've looked at this in a different way today. It's like, this is. Yeah, my willingness, how willing am I? And am I fooling myself? Sometimes with how willing I am.
Yeah.
Because, I might feel good today. It's tomorrow. It's like, it's here again.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that sort of complacency is like?
I don't know.
I think that's an aspect of a complacency. It's like, I'm doing my function. I'm doing my function of forgiveness. But am I really being complacent here? It's really, this is causing me to have a lot of questions. So good. It's a good thing.
That's great. That's Julie, great. Isn't it fabulous after all these years of studying the Course, we still get fresh insights?
Amazing. It really is. It's so lovely. The different, coming at it these ways. It's just so beautiful. Thank you.
You know what Julie just said makes me think it's like there's energy and space, and if we don't fill it up with the right thinking, it automatically goes back.
Mhm.
Mm.
You know, it's like we said on the calls during the week, if we're not keeping in the conversation, and this goes with the, you know, I have this thing about language, that language is so powerful. If we don't stay in the language of the Course, the language of the world kind of fills in, and that takes up space in who I am and my mind and my thinking, and then I'm off, you know.
Right.
Right on.
That's why we have to be vigilant.
Yeah.
Only for the kingdom. Yeah.
And you're articulating the big point that's being made here. There's these two systems,
Mhm.
you know, and they're seemingly both true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of off the wall, but I heard this thing yesterday about the Chinese language. And someone had told me once that there's no word in the Chinese language for trust. And I really, he was Chinese, and I you know, I assumed it was true, but I couldn't quite believe it. But yesterday I heard this thing about how when they were talking about logic, they had to put new words into the Chinese language, so that, because there weren't any words to deal with logic issues. And so if a whole world or a culture has a certain, like, trust is just something that's in the Chinese culture, so there's no need for the word.
Right.
If we really had love everywhere, or this belief in we're all one, we wouldn't even need language for it, because it would be there. And that's what we're aiming for with this. You know, it's kind
Right.
of interesting.
We're trying to make this our default as much
Yeah.
as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just part of everybody, you know, part of the culture, world culture.
And it's just our very being, just as
Yeah.
we are.
Mhm.
Right.
It's like the sentence, truth is, period.
Yeah.
What else? There's nothing else to say. Truth is,
Right.
period.
So, Julie, would you read the last paragraph, please?
Paragraph 7. Joining with him in seeing is the way in which you learn to share with him the interpretation of perception that leads to knowledge. You cannot see alone. Sharing perception with him whom God has given you teaches you how to recognize what you see. It is the recognition that nothing you see means anything alone. Seeing with him will show you that all meaning, including yours, comes not from double vision, but from the gentle fusing of everything into one meaning, one emotion, and one purpose. God has one purpose, which he shares with you. The single vision which the Holy Spirit offers you will bring this oneness to your mind with clarity and brightness, so intense you could not wish for all the world not to accept what God would have you have.
Mhm.
Behold your will, accepting it as his, with all his love as yours. And honor to you through him, and through him unto God. So it really is going back to, for me, what I'm getting from this is joining with him and seeing is the way in which you learn to share with him the interpretation of perception that leads to knowledge. I have to desire that better way. I have to desire peace. I have to desire harmony. I have to desire that above all else.
Yeah.
In order for me to have that. And I have to join my perception with his in order to get a new interpretation. It's so beautiful, so brilliant. I have to do that, to have a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So look at how in paragraph 4, it's saying we're afraid to bring our darkness to the Holy Spirit. And here it's saying when you do that, it's just so beautiful. The single vision the Holy Spirit offers you will bring this oneness to your mind with clarity and brightness so intense, you could not wish for all the world not to accept what God would have you have. It's like, why are we so attached to our darkness?
I think there's always the inference in the practice instructions is do this until you get the result.
Yeah.
It is describing you can get. I mean,
Yeah.
don't give up because the promise is true. It's
Yeah.
like guarantee salvation. It's a guarantee that you
Mhm.
can heal right in this instant.
Yeah.
As I was listening to Julie, I was thinking about what she was saying, and it occurred to me, for me, that learning to be at peace was a strange emotion.
Mhm.
Not used to it, to
Mhm.
be at peace and feeling joy, because we live in this world that's constantly
Mhm.
bombarding us with all these stuff, but to make the transition and perception to be at peace and to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like by being at peace, well, you're doing something wrong because you've abdicated your duty to fight against the world. So it's an observation for me that it's really, I'm beginning to really like it, but it's taken me a while to get used to it.
Yeah, I like it too.
So you said something about, let's see if I understood what you said, that we're afraid to be at peace because we would be abdicating our responsibility to fight against the world.
Well,
Yeah, that's been my experience. And
Yeah,
to
that
learn to
sounds,
let go of that.
right.
Peace is normal.
Yeah.
And I know that in my life, I haven't ever really believed that. So I'm getting there.
You're learning it, Dale.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to Dale's point is the Dalai Lama as an example. Like people often say, well, how can you be so happy in light of what's happening to your people with genocide and just the awful things the Chinese are doing, right? And he's saying, well, will my unhappiness make any difference?
Right.
No.
Does it have value?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Does going down into the quicksand help the one who's drowning? No.
Yeah.
Give him a board to crawl up on. Yeah. Stay on the shore. Any last thoughts about this?
I don't want to talk
The
too.
oh,
Go
go ahead,
No,
Julie.
you go ahead. No.
Yeah, just these last two paragraphs remind me of what Ken Watnick says about being the non-judgmental observer and joining with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's talking about bringing your dark and secret thoughts and joining with him. And it says his judgment must prevail. So it's the idea that while you're bringing your judgment to the situation, that you're stopping the Holy Spirit's judgment because you're keeping your judgment in place. Whereas if you can look at it non-judgmentally, then you can really be with the Holy Spirit and he can show you a different perception of it. So the problem is the judgment that I keep holding on to. If I can let go of that judgment, then I can see it completely differently.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I think you just answered my question, which was, why do we hold on to this darkness? Because we can be right. Right? I mean, it's true. what we choose to think about, we manifest. So we're right. We're right about all the horrible things we believe. Oh, great. What a prize.
That's a lot of arguments end in that. You go, well, I'm just right.
Yeah. I'd rather be wrong. Yeah. We're okay. So
Do you want me to stop the
that,
recording?
oops.
Gee,
Hey,
Wait a
Julie, you were going to
want
say
him to
something.
step
weren't
on
you?
the wrong button. You know what I mean?
Eric, you answered, actually. I was wanting to respond to Jan's, or I wasn't sure it was Jan or Timothy who had said, so why are we, this darkness, why are we hanging on to this? And what occurred to me was, in my arrogance, I don't think I've suffered enough for what I think I did.
Yeah.
To look
That's-
on it with the Holy Spirit, whose love and goodness will just shine it away. It's like, not yet. Let me suffer a little bit more for what it is I think I did.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, great.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and Merry Christmas.